Last week, I did a video on the new League of Legends season, and I pretty much only had one thing to say. The new League of Legends season is well, it turns out that a large part of the community, as evidenced by your comments on that video, share that sentiment. But that's not surprising. What is surprising is that for the first time in a long time, it seems like Riot themselves share that sentiment. Well, to some extent. They're still sticking to their guns in a lot of other ways. The question is, should they? So yeah, first things first, if you've still yet to try Season 15 and you're just completely unfamiliar with it, either check out that video we did on it, hop into the client and check it out yourself firsthand, or just uninstall the client. I feel like that's an option that just never really gets its due. Assuming you are familiar with the new season, you've presumably had a chance to form a couple of thoughts about it over the past couple of days. I know I have, but before we get into our thoughts, let's get into Riot's, because big surprise, they have some data. A couple of days ago, Froxon published a post not only detailing the win rates surrounding the new objective systems, but shared an overall outlook on the state of Season 15, how happy Riot are with it, and as usual, how happy we should be with it. I'm not digging, I like the post, I'm really glad he made it, it is sort of the Riot game special to just gaslight the player base a little bit when it comes to thinking that something that's wildly overpowered or just awful to play against is in fact either of those things. Anyway, the data itself is actually quite interesting. We all know how Riot loves their win rates, and you can see that those are the first thing Froxon instances. New objectives aside, the win rates are largely the same pre and post update, which means that the game might not be as snowbally as we think it is. Or rather, more snowbally. While it is true that winning feats increases your win rate, the things that go into winning feats, first blood, first turret, securing epic monsters, are things that have always been in the game and are things that, had you secured or achieved them in the past, would always have increased your chances of winning. I know it sounds really obvious, but it is worth pointing out that the things that go into the feats have always existed, literally. Now they just have a pretty package around them, and if you accomplish a certain number of them, you get a bonus. Froxon's theory is that the visibility of feats has increased the perception that the game is snowballing, which admittedly is the case. It does feel like shit to get an audio-visual reminder that your top laner gave up in first blood 38 seconds into a lane. But to his and Riot's credit, Froxon admits that certain aspects of this system, specifically first blood, were sort of grossly overtuned and just not really satisfying to either earn or lose out on. Can we please just take a second to appreciate that? The worst thing that Riot does is not put stupid, broken, badly designed systems into the game. The worst thing they do is gaslight us about it. Of course, there's nothing inherently wrong with Casante's kit. He has a 46% win rate. In fact, we think it's kind of weird that you guys think there is something wrong with Casante. We actually think he might be sort of underpowered. Riot's attitude has always been, if we never admit that we made a mistake, then we never have to apologize for it, make reparations for it, or change it. They still haven't apologized for Yuumi, and I guarantee you they never will. They will die on this hill. The only real exception to this was their first effort at Chemtech. Before then, and since then, they've never budged on any of their insane bullshit. Not really. Anyway, enough shitting on Riot, because I gotta admit, I have actually sort of come around on what it is that feats were trying to accomplish. Even skimming through the 1,000+ comments on the Reddit thread linking Froxon's post, you can see that a lot of players do actually sympathize with Riot's mission to give us a tangible, gamified incentive to play together. You wouldn't know it from playing it, but League of Legends is actually a team game. Or at least it's supposed to be. What Feats of Strength is doing, for better and for worse, is forcing all of these kids who don't even have their monitors turned on to actually coordinate as early as possible. And that's a good thing. The problem is that both the punishment and reward for doing or not doing that just feels a little bit disproportionate. The boots themselves aren't actually as strong as we initially thought, and pretty much everything about Otacon is just wildly overpowered. Both buffs are insane, and while the Blood Roses are getting tuned down a bit, Otacon as a whole will need to be monitored, and Froxon said as much. On the whole, I am slightly less outraged at the new season than I was a couple of days ago. But the reason for that is just because I see what they're going for. I see the vision. At first, I didn't. Now I do. I see the upside of encouraging early team play because I've lived the benefits. That said, I want to be super clear. Just because I've come to respect Riot's vision does not mean that I savor all aspects of the execution. The fact that Otacon can give 5 players Aegis of the Immortal, nullify their shutdown, make their kill bounty a 100 gold while adding 40 gold to any kills they get is the stupidest thing ever. That was a horrible idea that no one asked for, and I actually grow to hate it more the more I experience it. So yeah, some things I hate more, some things I hate less, such as life, such as League. Of course, there's nothing inherently wrong with Cassante's kit. He has a 46% win rate. In fact, we think it's kind of weird that you guys think there is something wrong with Cassante. We actually think he might be sort of underpowered. That's my freak impression, by the way.